In the last few years, morning routines have been all the hype.
Morning routine.
Morning routines.
Morning routines.
Morning routine.
Morning routine is...
It seems like any time you go on the internet, you're bound to come across some influencer who tells you that their morning routine has made them more productive than ever. And listen, I'd love to sit here and tell you,
oh, don't worry, baby. I'm different. I'm not like the rest of those guys.
but the truth is I'm just as boring and basic as every other self-development bro out there, because I also have a morning routine that's been sacred in my life for the last few years. But not too long ago, I had a realization that made me quit my morning routine on the spot. And if you care at all about productivity, well, you should too. Let me explain. You see, my morning routine used to look like every other dude's morning routine who is clearly overcompensating for something else in their life. I'd wake up early, usually around 6. I'd hydrate my body with the finest Toronto tap water. I'd then go outside for a walk to wake myself up and get some sunlight in my eyes. When I got back, I would do a Wim Hof breathwork session and follow that up with a meditation. And after all of that, I get out my journals. And so I do some gratitude journaling in one, and then I do a brain dump in the other. And to finish it all off, I read a few pages from whatever book I'm reading at the time. All in all, this morning routine takes about an hour and a half. In my mind though, it was time that was well spent. Every single time I sat down to do work on a YouTube video, after I did my morning routine, I felt amazing. I felt like Bradley Cooper in that movie Limitless, where he unlocks his whole brain by taking those little pills, just minus the little pills and, also the whole sexy face thing that he has going on. However, the issue was that I had to leave the house every single day around 8 a.m. for work. This means that after my morning routine and after taking away whatever time was necessary for me to just get ready for the rest of my day, I actually only had about 30 minutes to work on a YouTube video. And for those of you who don't know, making a YouTube video isn't exactly a walk in the park. Most of my videos take about 10 to 15 hours to make, and so 30-minute work sessions in the morning don't really help move that process along very quickly. For the last few months, I felt like I've been stretched incredibly thin. Between working a full-time job, attempting to stay in shape, and trying to be a somewhat social human being once in a while, creating a new video every week seemed like it was on the absolute brink of my capabilities. Most weeks I found myself pulling 12-hour days on a Sunday to try and get the video in on time, but more often than I'd like to admit, the videos were either late or I just wouldn't post one at all. For the last year, all I've really wanted to do was make YouTube videos. And trying to juggle that with everything else that I was trying to fit into my life just didn't seem sustainable. And to be honest with you, I kind of just thought that I wasn't mentally strong enough to handle all these responsibilities, or that maybe I just didn't have what it took to become a YouTuber. But one day, I was on a walk listening to Alex Hormozi's appearance on Chris Williamson's podcast, and Hormozi said something that was about to change my life.
There was definitely times earlier in my life I was really romanticized by these very extensive morning routines and supplement rituals and all this stuff of mental masturbation around the work that needed to be done. But when I looked at 2 hours later and nothing had actually gotten done, the moment you begin working is when your output per unit of time goes up. That makes beginning the single greatest hack that you can have for everything else that you do in work. Because the thing is, when you start working, you start getting in the mood to work, right? Everything else is procrastinating around the work that you think you should do. But I have noticed for me,
holy shit! When I heard this clip, my mind was blown. For the longest time, I was convinced that my morning routine was the most productive use of my time. I mean, how could it not be? There were tons of successful people who had these intricate morning routines, and on top of all of that, I just felt really great after I did it. And so why would I stop doing something that made me feel great? Well, if my goal was to feel great every single day, then I probably wouldn't have removed it from my schedule. But that wasn't my goal. My goal was to make the best possible YouTube video I could that given week. And so through this lens, we can actually look at every single activity in my morning routine and see if it brings me any closer to my goal. Does meditating bring me closer to my next YouTube video? No. Does breathwork bring me any closer to my next YouTube video? No. Does gratitude journaling bring me any close? You know what? You get the point. none of this stuff actually brings me any closer to my goal at the moment, which is to just put out the best possible YouTube video that I can. Which means that I was wasting an hour and a half of a 2-hour window doing things that I didn't even want to do. And so instead of filling my morning with an hour and a half of activities that were supposed to make me more productive, but actually caused me to do less work, well, why didn't I just fill that time instead with the work I actually wanted to do? And so I did. Now my morning routine is much, much simpler.
I have the best advice for women in business. Get your fucking ass up and work. It seems like nobody wants to work these days.
That's so true.
You have to surround yourself.
Yeah. And what I found is that when I started to do work, yeah, my brain was maybe a bit more foggy than it would have been if I did my full morning routine, but the fog really just tended to pass in like 5 or 10 minutes after I started working anyways. And at that point, I found myself pretty much in the same mental state that I would have been after my full morning routine, except I didn't waste 90 minutes getting there. That meant that I had more time to do the stuff that I actually wanted to do.
Like work on this video that you're watching right now. Check it out.
What I came to realize is that the reason that I created my morning routine all those years ago was very different from the reasons that I continue to do my morning routine for these last few years. I started my morning routine to actually provide some structure in my life during a very unstructured period of time. But I kept doing my morning routine because it was just a habit. However, as time went on, I failed to question what purpose this morning routine was actually serving in my life. And what I realized is that I was actually more obsessed with the idea of a morning routine, being able to say that I completed it, than I actually was with any of the benefits that I got from any of the individual activities. Now listen, I'm not saying you're a stupid idiot moron if you have a morning routine, because I think you're a stupid idiot moron regardless of your morning routine. Aww. But if you ever feel like your morning routine is essential and necessary for you to actually get work done, well, it's probably time for you to start questioning it. Because a morning routine can actually just be another way for people to distract themselves from the real work that's right in front of them. And the truth is that if you just got up and you just got right to the work that you were supposed to do, you'll be like 100 times more productive than anyone who's doing the best morning routine there is. Now, this whole idea of removing a morning routine to actually get more productive probably seems a little bit counterintuitive, but that's because the best ideas always are. And there's actually another idea that allows the ultra successful people of our time to get more work done by doing less. I know, it sounds crazy, but that's because it is. And luckily for you guys, I actually go over the idea in this video right here, and you're definitely gonna wanna check it out because without it, you may never reach your goals.